Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for BroadwayWorld. I'm at the Barnes & Noble on Lexington and 86th Street for the performance and CD signing for Forbidden Broadway Comes Out Swinging.
Tomorrow will be mummified, tomorrow will be ossified, tomorrow you'll be terrified, there's nothing really new in store. Well, boy, you're in for one
How excited are you to be here today?
Oh, very excited. It's the 12th CD of Forbidden Broadway, the 12th unoriginal cast album. So I'm very excited to be here. And I'm excited to be here at Barnes & Noble, one of my favorite stores.
Let's talk about this version of the show. So wonderful.
Thank you.
How long did it take you to put this one together?
Oh, well, God, that's an interesting question because, you know, there's a lot of material that I write and then we throw out, and then Phil George, my collaborator, comes in and says, move this, do that, change this. So I guess it takes about 2 or 3 months to really put it together right. And then once we get all the material, we have to do the order, and that's almost harder than writing it, figuring who's off changing while somebody else is singing. And of course, this edition was different because we were opening it at the end of the season while the season was ongoing. So there were new shows coming in as we were putting this version of Forbidden Broadway together. So all of a sudden, we got like, oh my God, we need a Bullets Over Broadway number, or we need a Rocky number, you know, and we got them in there.
It's like a puzzle putting this show together, isn't it?
It's exactly like a puzzle. It's kind of like a crossword puzzle, right? Yeah. It on many levels. You know, one level is the puzzle of taking the real songs and changing the words around, and then another puzzle is trying to get the laughs, and then another one is who's changing when. You know, and then I've got to watch out, like, do too many ballads come together? Or are there enough duets and trios and all of that sort of thing too?
Don't let them try to copy me. Only I can wail that loud high Z. Don't try to fly the way I do. But if you do, let it blow, let it blow. Blow your cords out with a roar. Let it blow, let it blow. When you sing
I am just over the moon. I'm having the best time. Philip George, our director, says in rehearsal, you're completely spoiled and you're going to hate us after this because nothing will be as fun as creating in the moment and just getting silly and everybody's own sense of humor sort of informing, you know, the life of this piece. It's so individual and such an incredibly creative process. So much fun.
Had you seen other editions before going into this?
Yes. Okay. I saw last year's edition, but that was actually my first one. Unfortunately, I wish I had been going for years, but I loved last year's. I mean, I totally idolized those guys. I was actually going in for an audition for it, so I saw it, and I was like, oh my God, I would die to do this.
What's your history with Forbidden Broadway?
I auditioned for and got in the last version, Alive and Kicking. Did the whole run of that, then did some of the out-of-town versions of it's like best of Forbidden Broadway. We did them in West Palm Beach and stuff like that. And then when they said, we're going to do another version, I was like, please, 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 please. And so they were nice enough to use me and Marcus again. Yeah. So super excited, and we did this version too.
So what are some of the voices that you do in this show? Who do you impersonate? Who do you do?
My like most distinctive impersonation in this one would probably be Sylvester Stallone. Not that he's on Broadway, but of course, obviously with Rocky, it was.
He's on Broadway.
Yeah, it's kind of hard not to bring Sly Stallone into there, and I don't want to give anything away, but it's a fun, silly little thing that I have with. He talks with Andy Carl and stuff like that. I still did the Once, which is one of my favorites of all time. And just countless others, Trey Parker, Matt Stone, all that kind of stuff.
It's one long act before we do it. You and I have just one sex scene spinning by on one hard mattress. You and I.
have a very long history with Forbidden Broadway. I was originally in the SVU. I was the originator of the Yoko Ono skit, which is very popular. I have been traveling with it throughout the country and overseas, literally on cruise ships, for about 9 years. And I just stepped into this last incarnation about 3 weeks ago.
Tell me how much fun this incarnation has been for you, especially coming in so fast.
Oh my God, I can't even start. It's just for me to get to do. I'm a New York girl, so for me to get to do Fran Drescher and to get to do all of the characters and to do Carrie Underwood and Cyndi Lauper, who I love. Yeah, it's just been a thrill. It's been a total thrill.
What's given you the biggest thrill with working on this show?
Well, I've first of all worked with some amazing actors over the years. I mean, my Lord, just stars of the theater: Ron Boehmer, Christine Petty, Christina Bianco, just amazing performers, and that's been a joy. And also, one of the things that I love particularly is that we do so many types of shows, so many styles of shows, and one of the first things that Phil George told me when he hired me was that my job was to make the audience forget that they don't have an orchestra in front of them. And so I've gotten to play with so many different flavors and to vary the texture from night to night in order to kind of create a full and rich sound, and that never gets old for me. I just enjoy that so much.
Super frantic, hyperactive, self-indulgent, manly. When I get hysterical, the critics think I'm dandy. When they cast a lunatic, I always come in handy. Super frantic, hyperactive, self-indulgent, manly. I'm currently on Homeland fighting spies in Pakistan, although I would prefer to play a Jewish Peter Pan. And so I have my repertoire to please a Yiddish fan. So Broadway, won't you welcome back here, Motion Man? Super frantic, hyperactive, self-indulgent, mandy. Am I under medication over sexual randy? Pass around lots of balls and Manischewitz brandy. Super frantic, hyperactive, self-indulgent, mandy.
You know, this is like something that I always dreamed of. You know, being able to perform at a cast recording, performance. So it's really cool.
So give me your history with Forbidden Broadway. Where did it all start?
For me, well, I actually grew up listening to these albums and loving them. But for me, it started, I did a sit-down production in Pittsburgh directed by Bill Selby, who was a longtime cast member of the show. And I did that. It was one of my first gigs out of school in Pittsburgh. And years later, I went to the open call for Alive and Kicking, and Bill happened to be behind the table. So since then, I've been performing in New York and doing some of their road gigs. So it's been a blast. The show's been very good to me.
Hope you all had fun, but we got